What? Hold on. Okay, there we go. Wait. Okay, yeah, mic is on. Good. I thought it was. That's okay, that's okay. Well, hello there. I'm Claire Calico, and today we're playing Chaos Child. Last time we were talking about swords, and maybe I'll get a sword. I think that's mostly what happened last time. We saw some cool swords, and we're like, ooh. Oh yeah, and there was a person walking where we left off. It looks like I forgot to write down what happened. It'll be okay, I think. The town was filled with noise that threatened to swallow her whole. But that was just the way she wanted it. Shibuya was a town that accepted anybody and rejected everyone. It was the only place that would let her be part of it now. She moved her legs forward violently amidst the hustle and bustle. Forward, forward! Each step she took, her face twisted with horrible pain. Or at least that's how it seemed to her. She didn't know if the pain was actually appearing on her face. Her face was covered with scars and shielded by a long hair that hid her hate. But as she dragged her legs down the street, no one in Shibuya stopped to look at her. She was grateful for that, but at the same time she hated it. A flame burned within her womb. It was a flame of hatred. She was nothing but hatred now. The businessmen who passed by her on the street, the empty-headed students, the happy couples, the miserable-looking old people. She hated everyone. But she hated them most of all. She hated the ones who had abandoned her. She hated the ones who had done this to her. If they hadn't abandoned her, this would have never happened. The hatred burned within her womb. No, she was the hatred. The power she'd gained that day, it was all for this. Only the joy of revenge drove her forward. Forward and forward. And then she didn't notice that the people who passed by her turned back in surprise. She didn't realize it herself. But the woman was laughing. What's so funny, huh? She was laughing so hard that anyone could hear her. Like black smoke from a flame rising toward the sky. She raised her voice and laughed. How goes it? Mayashido is awakening. Not completely yet. What else? He seems to have finally remembered. Their experience? Yes. What of... What... We get to look at it closer now. Oh. October 12th, 2015, Monday. Hey, it's Monday today!
おい、あれじゃね？ほら、今流行ってる。
What thing?
マジで？やばくね？てか、流行るとおかしくね？呪われるんしょ？マジやばくね？
ほれ、 1枚持ってこうぜ。
やばいってそれマジやばいって。
Who's talking? There's so many people
Oh.
here.
先輩、あれ例のやつじゃないですか？
You want a sword, huh? Yeah! I make a sword with my mind. And hello, how's it going?
例のって？
え？先輩知らないですか？歴史シール。
歴史シール？
いや、またまた。嘘っしょ？知ってて言ってるんしょ？
いや、マジで知らないって。
マジっすか？今めっちゃ流行ってるっすよ。
How's it going, Clarabelle? You're looking stunning as always. Yay, thank you. It's going good, yeah. Well, how are you doing?
流行ってんの？あんな気持ち悪いの
いや、流行ってるってのとは違うか。ほら、例の連続殺人事件、あれの現場にあったって話っすよ。
The weird murders, of
が？あの
course.
シールが？なんで？
なんでかは知らないっすけど、でもなんか意味あるんじゃないっすか？
I'm feeling silly and tired currently. Volunteering at the elementary school for the Big Brother program. Oh, yeah? That's cool. A silly and tired feeling?
歴史シールね。なんかそのまんますぎだろ。もっといいネーミングねえのかよ。
Why are the words going off screen? What's going on? Did I... Oh, no, that's just how it is, huh?
Hora, ここにもあるじゃん、歴史シール。
Yeah, I'm just teaching kids how to throw and catch footballs. They're learning pretty well. Ooh, that's so cool. That's fun.
うわ、めっちゃ増えてんじゃん。あ、てか、あんた何やってんの？
これちょっと可愛くない？ほら、カバンとかつけたら。
うっそ、可愛いとこマジウケるんだけど、どんな趣味よ。
Why do the words keep going up the screen? I know it's not too big.
絶対これ
Oh,
流
wait,
行るって。
no.
マジで。ねえ、あんたもそう思うっしょ？それ近づけんのやめて。見てるとなんか気持ち悪くなんだよね。
What is it? What are they talking about?
気持ち悪いっつってんじゃん。
I want to see.
うっそ、可愛いって絶対。
あれ？それ何つけてるんですか？
あ、これ？ほら、例の歴史シール？おしゃれっしょ。
Oh, they're talking about the sticker.
いいですね、それ。
でしょでしょ？
And
これ流行ら
Crocs.
そうよ。T シャツとかにでっかくプリントとか可愛くない？
でも不謹慎とか言われそうじゃないですか？
ああ、不謹慎中とかうざいよね、マジで。でも大丈夫じゃない？みんなで着ればさ。
So how much progress have we made here? I think we're on chapter 5 or 6. There's gotta be a way to see that, right? Is that it? No, that's not it. Yeah, 5 or 6. One of those. Oh, there's a little panda up there.
なんかグッズとか作ります？
いいね。ソックスとかさ、かわいいかも。
ちょい考えますか。
どうした
Smell in
ん
the air?
なんか焦げ臭くね？
ああ、ここあったらしいぜ。
何が？
なんかほら、最近この辺で火つけて回ってるやついるらしいじゃん。連続放火？
Ooh,
ああ、
fire.
なんか聞いたそれ。
それもほれ、あれのせいじゃねえの？呪いのシールとかって。
あれなんなのマジで。あれと一緒なんだろ？前のほら。
ニュージェネだろ？
そうそれ、ニュージェネ。あれの真似なんだろ？渋谷マジやばいって。
このように今回の事件の日付はすべてニュージェネレーションの狂気と呼ばれる6年前の事件と一致しております。そこにどのような関連があるのかが注目されているわけですが、これについてはいかがでしょう？
そうですね。関連があるのはほぼ間違いないでしょうね。ただ、現時点で全ての事件が同一犯であると決めつけるのはまだ時期尚早ではないかと思います。
Wait, how many? I don't remember how many. Never mind. I was gonna say, how many murders were there in Chaos Head? Because it would be the same in Chaos Child, I'm sure. Same number. I think this is also 11 chapters. So we're almost halfway through.
それはどうしてでしょう？
現場に残されていたという歴史シールは渋谷の街中のどこにでもあるという話ですし、入手するのは比較的簡単なんですね。したがって何者かが同一犯の犯行とみなすために現場に残したという可能性も考えられます。
その場合はやはり捜査の混乱を狙ったということでしょうか？
Yes.
そういうことになりますね。特に今のようなネット社会ではそうした情報は早く出回りますし、騒ぎに乗じた便乗殺人ということもないとは言い切れないでしょうね。
まだまだ謎の多い事件ですね。こちらの事件に関しては後ほど改めましてたっぷりと検証していきたいと思います。さて、次のニュースはこちらも東京渋谷ですね。連続放火事件のニュースです。
Whoa! We're on 6 now. I did it again. I saved a little bit before the next chapter when I could have just waited for the next chapter. That's okay. So now we're halfway through it.
しかし信じられないな。まさかAH 東京総合病院でそんなことが。
I can believe it. Takeshi Shinjo frowned as he leaned back into the sofa inside the messy office. Friesa Corporation was located on the second floor of an old multi-purpose building in Sakura Agako? I don't think I said that right. At this hour, the 20 or so desks in the room were mostly empty, but that didn't mean that things weren't busy. Investigation companies like Frieza did a lot of work outside the office. It was precisely because they were busy that there was no one here. Three people were having a serious discussion inside the empty office.
まあ、新庄ちゃんが疑いたくなる気持ちはわかるけど。
In front of him was the CEO of Frieza, Katsuko Momose.
お前なんかに嘘ついて何の得がある？
Mio Kunasato was sitting further away from him, not even bothering to conceal her displeasure. It was clear she had no intention of being friendly with him.
もちろん信じないと言っているわけじゃない。あの病院にいろいろ妙な噂があることだって知っている。それにこうして生きた証人もいることだし。
Chijo looked at the other person on the sofa. Who was the other person? It was a tiny little girl.
あの子が本当に施設で被害者たちの世話を？
ああ、そうだ。
今彼女から事情は聞けそうかな？
やってみてもいいが、失望するだけかもしれないぞ。
え？それがね。
私、帰ります。お願いします。私、帰ります。あそこに返してください。お願いします。
ずっとこの調子。帰りたいの一点張り。何を聞いたってろくに話してくれやしない。
百瀬さんが苦戦するのは珍しいな。
Shinjo stood up and dragged the office chair over to the sofa the girl was sitting on. He sat down and slowly as he could, so as not to scare her, and looked at her eye level.
山添浮君?
He tried to speak as softly as he could, but she still shivered at his voice.
怖がらなくていい。僕はおまわりさんだ。
おまわりさん。
そうだ。だから安心していい。
おまわりさんなら助けてください。
もちろんだと思う。だから教えてほしいんだ。君を真っ暗な地下室に閉じ込めたのは誰？
私、あの人にさらわれてきたんです。だから助けてください。元の場所へ返してくださ
い。Yuki Yamazoe looked at Kunasato, and just an I don't think I... For just an instant, and then looked back at Shinjo, begging.
これで私も立派な誘拐犯だな。逮捕してみるか？
Yeah.
チャチャを入れないでくれ。なあ、浮君。何か勘違いしているようだけど、君は地下でひどいことをさせられてたんだ。だからこうして助け出されたんだよ。
ひどいことなんて何もありません。私はただ皆さんのお世話をしていただけです。それが私の仕事です。だから 戻らないといけないんです。私がいないと皆さんが困ってしまいます。
That explain. I might sneeze. No, I won't. That explained why even a sorry, I got poo brains today. That explained why even a veteran like Momo was having trouble. Shinja looked at the two and shrugged.
参りましたね。
でしょ？
聞いた限りだと地下の環境はかなり劣悪ですよね。普通女の子がそんなところに帰りたいって思うもんですかね。
私ならごめんこぶるわね。まあ、うちも仕事内容の劣悪さじゃ負けてないと思うけど。
Momose chuckled.
そいつの頭皮を見てみたが、ロボトミーや電気ショックの痕跡はない。ちゃんと脳の検査をしないと断定はできないが、多分長年の軟禁生活で自分の境遇に疑問を抱かなくなってしまったんだろう。
虐待されてる子供と同じか。
ああ。
どうしたもんかな。
Shinja looked back at the girl, who now seemed as if she was about to cry, and started to scratch his head. As of now, the police have no reason to make a move on AH General Hospital. None of the evidence he'd gathered had been acquired by legal means. He'd hoped that Uki Yamazoi's testimony would allow her to function as a whistleblower, but that was looking unlikely.
あ、そうだ。ウキ君、この少年を知ってるね。
Shinja took a smartphone out of his pocket. It was one he'd borrowed from the younger officers. He picked out... Hold on. Nope. I keep almost sneezing. He picked out Takeru Mayashida's photo from the ones he'd taken from of the police involved in the Hekio Academy shooting.
彼のスマートフォンを君は拾ったはずだ。彼がそう証言してる。
その人なら何回か会いました。でも、そのスマートフォンって一体何ですか？
Several times? Wait.
何?
Let me think. I know they mentioned like let me think. Because I know there was one time. Yeah. Okay. This
その子ね、最近のものは何も知らないわよ。
Shinjo thought for a moment, then pointed to his own phone.
これがスマホだ。これと似たようなものを彼が落として君が拾った。覚えてないかな？
Uki stared at the phone in his hands, then nodded
やっぱ
softly.
りそうか。で、それをどうした？
落ちていた場所にすぐに戻しました。
戻した？君が持って行ったんじゃなくて？
持ってなんていきません。なんだかわからないものは怖いです。
でも宮代君によればそのスマホから電話がかかってきたって言うんだ。君がやったんじゃないのか？
スマホというのはそうやって写真を見る機会じゃないんですか？電話もかけられるんですか？
Yes.
ああ、
Momose giggled a little. Shinjo glared at her, then turned to the phone, then turned the phone around and brought up a number from the address book. He tapped the number. Beep, 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 boop, beep, boop. The phone rang for a moment, and then an extremely irritated voice answered. Who answered?
はい。もしもし、有村ですけど。
ほら、こうやって電話ができるんだよ。な。
Shinjo turned up the volume so that Uki could hear it. Uki didn't seem to care.
そうですか。
もしもし、一体何なんです？用がないなら切りますよ。私これからランチなんで。
いや、用ならあるんだ。しかも大事な用が。悪いんだけど、ちょっと力を貸して。
お断りします。
即答はないだろ
う。ねえ、新庄さん。私ってあなたの恋人かなんかですか？何かっていうとすぐに電話してきて。いやらしい。
いやいや、待て。別にそういうつもりじゃ。な
ら、ストーカーってことでいいですね。
よくない。困ってるんだ。助けてくれよ。
うわ、出た。女の敵の決まり文句。それでお小遣いをせびったり、お金のために変なバイトをさせたりするんですよね。最低のダメ人間。
真面目に聞いてくれよ。大切な話なんだ。頼む。
Shinjo finally managed to quiet her down and then told her about AH Tokyo General and Uki Yamazoe. And then he asked Uki a few more detailed questions. This time she could hear. And as a result,
どうだ、有村さん。
全部白ですよ。真っ白。その子、嘘は一つもついてません。あと、今回の一連の事件についても本当に何にも知らないですね。その子が犯人と関係あるとか思ってます？だったら空振りもいいとこですよ。
そっか。
Shinjo's shoulders slumped when he heard that. He saw that Kunisato's did too. She'd probably thought that she could learn a lot of what she wanted to know from Uki Yamazoe. Kunisato frowned and looked at the ceiling.
有村さん、助かった。ありがとう。今度なんかご馳走するよ。
はあ？それってもしかしてデートに誘ってるつもりですか？だったら絶対に嫌なんですけど。
未成年をデートになんて誘ったら警察クビだよ。じゃ、またな。
またって、もうこういうのやめてくださいよ。何度言ったらわかるんです。
He ended the call before Arimura could say anything further, and finally the room fell quiet. Sigh. I also wanted to. No one spoke for a while. The only sound was Uki. Nope, I'm not gonna sneeze. Just let me sneeze. Come on. The only sound was Uki Yamazoe mumbling, "I want to go home," as she stared at her feet.
まあ、その子に関してはもう少しうちで預かることにするわ。 言っても食事と寝る場所の提供くらいで大したことはできなさそうだけど。
Momose stood up and rolled her tired neck. There was an unhealthy popping sound. No, it's probably healthy when all your bones pop. Is it? I don't know. My bones pop.
それでも十分助かります。
あっちの方は一からやり直しか。
Yep, starting from square one.
一からってことはないさ。地下施設の本格的な操作ができないか手を考えてみる。
なんとかなるの？正式な手続きを踏んだところでまたどこかから圧力がかかるわよ。
でしょうね。
でしょうねってあんた。
ま、そこら辺は適当に口実をでっち上げます。ダメならダメでやりようはあると思うんで。それにお天道様のもとにさらしてしまえばいくらなんでも無視はできないでしょうからね。
ふん。
なんです？何かおかしなことを言いましたか？
似てきたじゃない？あの人に。
そいつは喜んでいいんですかね。
No.
どうかしら。少なくともいい死に方はしないわね。
Yeah, more gruesome than the next. Took you. Okay, we'll read this a little bit. Oh no, they're just saying the same thing. And oh wait, no, that's like the comments. Wait, what's popular online journalist Tomokai Watabe was murdered on the afternoon of the 10th at a school in Shibuya. The police have become more convinced that the killer in this case is the same as the other murders that are patterned after the return of the new generation madness 7 years ago. Watabe visited the school to talk to the students and coughed up sumo stickers and died when he went on stage. Watabe's stomach was filled with large numbers of mysterious sumo stickers, and it is believed that these are what choked him. I don't believe that. It had to be something else. Just kidding. As the sumo stickers are seen everywhere on the streets of Shibuya these days, they seem to think it will be impossible to track down where the killer found them. Watabe had previously pointed out the relationship between the sumo stickers and the other mysterious deaths that took place on the 7th, 14th, and 30th of last month. The police are assuming there's a connection there. Boom. I heard a big boom outside.
物体を動かす力、いわゆるテレキネシスと呼ばれるもの、それが先輩の力です。
That's my power?
僕の力。
さあ、念じてみてください。動けと心の中で。
Make what move?
念じる。心の中で。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。動け。
You can do it.
動けよ
Whoa!
見て、机の上の本が。
マジかよ。浮いてやがる。動いた。
驚きました。これは私が思っていた以上の力かもしれません。
宮代拓、君の能力この目でじっくりと見させてもらった。
久野里さん。
これからはその能力を使って私の渋谷ニュースを手伝ってくれないか？
No! Just kidding. I'll use my powers to help.
私には君の力が必要なんだ。
はい、喜んで。
すごいじゃねえか、宮代。
イエーイ。
まあ、これくらい当然だよ。
宮代。
We got Mr. Blue Skies.
タクねえ、タクったら。
Oh, was this a dream?
これくらい大したこと。
It was.
大したこと。
Huh?
あ、起きた。
ここ。
My room? Then that was a dream just now? I looked at the clock. It was already well into afternoon and approaching evening. I remembered now. I'd met both Arimura and Kunasato at Cafe Lax, and then came back here late last night, still confused. After that, I had gone home and thought, and then done some research on the internet, and finally gotten to sleep around sunrise. And that's why I'd only gotten up now.
たく、人が心配してきてやったのに、気持ちよく寝てやがるんだもんな。
タクはのんきだね。
うわっ、なんだお前ら。
You didn't lock the door, that's what they're doing in there. Surprised I leapt out of bed.
なんだってご挨拶だな、君は。
みんなタクを心配して様子を見に来たんだよ。
The entire school went over to see him. I'm just kidding.
心配？僕を？なんで？
だってねえ、花ちゃん。
和樹、お前まで。
It was a tiny room, but I'd still only just realized that she was here now.
ちょっとタク、そういう言い方はひどいよ。花ちゃんだってずっと気にしてたんだから。ね
That was surprising. Kazuki was so worried about me, she'd come all the way out here? I figured no matter what happened, she'd be sitting in the club room playing ESO too.
てか大げさなんだよ。そんなに心配しなくたって。
でもよ、結構いろんなことあったろ、昨日。
そうだよ。のんちゃんも気にしてたよ。
クルスが。まさか昨日のことベラベラ喋ったりしてないよな。
Sarika looked confused.
もしかして話したのか？例の能力のことも。なんで言っちゃうんだよ。
Why not?
だってのんちゃんには隠し事してもバレちゃうんだもん。
Yeah, Kurisu was pretty sharp. And I couldn't imagine a girl like Sarika being able to hide anything from her. I gave up and fell back into bed.
いけなかったかな。
Good night again. Just kidding. Serika looked apologetic as she fiddled with her girl froggy strap.
いや、いい。話しちゃったもんは仕方がない。
Knowing Kurisu, she was probably really upset now.
それでクルスはなんて？
ああ、私は今動けないから、代わりにあなたたちがタクのそばにいてあげてって。
それだけか。あいつのことだからもっといろいろ言われただろ。危険なことするなとか、能力なんてバカなとかなんとか。
そんなことなかったよ。
だってあのクルスだぞ。それだけのはずないだろ。
それだけ
だよな。
I rubbed my eyes, still sleepy. Something didn't seem right. I like to rub my eyes when I'm sleepy. I gotta move my glasses out of the way though, but
ああ、そうだ。昼間、新庄さんから電話あったぞ。お前が探してるスマホのことで。
Ito slapped his hands together as if he'd just remembered something important. What do you remember? I quickly stood up. That was one of my biggest concerns right now. Standing?
新庄さんなんだって？
I eagerly pressed Ito for more information. Shinjo had said he intended to spend the whole day getting information out of Uki Yamazoe girl. Of course, I'd told him many times to ask about that phone. Probably he had.
ああ、それがな。
But the answer I got was one I wasn't expecting. What were you expecting?
ああ、一度拾ったけど、すぐに元の場所へ戻したそうだ。
そんな言い訳、新庄さんは信じたのか？
有村が確認したんだと。嘘はついてないって。
有村が？
Which meant that she wasn't lying.
じゃあ、僕の携帯から伊藤に謎の着信があったの？
それも彼女は無関係だってさ。
Then who did it? It's a real whodunit.
つまり、スマホを持ち去った犯人は別にいるってことか。
Then who had the phone? And that picture? And how and why had they managed to use my phone to call us and threaten us?
とにかく、宮代のスマホは引き続き捜索してくれるそうだ。だからさ、とりあえず新しいのを買ったらどうだ？
タクはね、やっぱり私たちの真ん中にいる部長なんだよ。だからね、タクと連絡取れなくて困ることはいっぱいあるんだ。今日も一日中心配しちゃったし。
I have an idea. Pigeons. Send letter by pigeon.
あと、なんちゃんもタクとお話ししたいときにすごく困るって言ってた。
そっか。
I'm the leader? It felt kind of embarrassing, but I knew that only these guys would say something like that.
確かに今のままだと何かが起こった時にみんなと連絡を取り合うことができないな。わかった。早めに新しいスマホを手に入れるよ。
Serika smiled happily.
で、昨日の話の続きなんだけどさ、宮代。
続きってどの話の続きだ？
久野里さんの言ってた能力だよ。本当にありそうなのか？
Yeah.
ああ、それわからないな。ちょっと非科学的すぎるし。
でも最初に超能力がどうのって言い出したのは宮代じゃなかったっけ？
それは
お前には見えたんだよな、有村が出した剣みたいなの。
まあ見えるには見えたけど。
Are we gonna do the whole sword thing again in this? Arimura's sword. I think she called it a D sword. It definitely looked real.
そいつが見えたってことはやっぱお前は能力者ってことだろ？久野里さんもそう言ってたし。
I'm gonna stretch real quick.
伊藤、相変わらず久野里さんの言うことは信用するんだな。あれだけひどい目に遭わされたのに。
What happened? She treated him pretty badly in the basement of the hospital. Maybe he was into that.
おいおい、なんだよ
Oh,
それは。
okay.
俺は別にそういう趣味はねえぞ。
いや、
I forgot
そうい
who
えば
that
お
was
前
for a second.
クルスを怒らせるようなこともよく言うよな。あれもわざとじゃ。
うわー、しんちゃんって変態さんだったんだね。
やめろよお前ら。んなことより宮代の能力の話をしてんだ今は。
Ito dragged us back to the original topic. We said, no, we're staying here talking about this. This was definitely suspicious.
いや、能力とか言われたって自分の意思で使えたことなんてないしさ。ラブホテルとか病院の地下とか鍵を開けたのは僕の能力だって有村や久野里さんは言ってたけど、半信半疑なんだよ。
The door to the to the hotel room might never have been locked in the first place. And the others might all just be coincidence, right?
ちゃんと試してみたのか？
It's too many coincidences.
試す？
お、だってさ、やってみなきゃ使えるかどうかわかんねえだろ？
Oh, a little bee hit the window. Okay. It was a really big bee.
コツさえつかめば案外できるかもしれないもんね。
Even the normally disheartened Kazuki was staring at me with curiosity. It was rare to see her like this. Maybe she was interested in psychic powers and the occult.
そうだな。
それともタク、一人で試してみたりした？それでダメだったとか？だったらしょうがないけど。
違うよ。僕がそんな馬鹿げたこと一人でやるわけないだろ。
Make the book float like you did in your dream. I lied. Actually, last night I tried and it hadn't worked.
じゃあやってみようよ。ね？いいじゃん。減るもんでもないし。
けどやるったってどうすれば？
Just do what you usually do,
やっぱ
right?
強く念じるとかじゃね？
Yeah. I tried that and it didn't work.
ほらほらタク、念じて念じて。
念じるって何よ？
Something.
そうだな。例えばほら、そこにある本を動かしてみるとか。
And now, this was just like my dream.
わかったよ。やるよ。やってみる。けど、期待はするなよ。
大丈夫、大丈夫。5本。それでは挑戦していただきましょう。宮代拓くんです。パチパチパチ。
Suddenly, Serica stood up and straight and gave me an introduction and a round of applause. I had no choice but to stand in front of the book and get ready. I raised my hands slowly and concentrated. Yeah, you could do it.
動け。
Oh, I stuck my hands out quickly, and then the pages of the book slowly started to...
やっぱ動かないね。
Aw, man.
だろう。だからできないって言ったんだよ。
チェ、なんだつまんねえの。
What's that?
こら、
Is she punching the wall?
の壁を殴るな。
Yeah, punch a hole in the wall.
でもよかったね、タク。
Serica opened one of my mountain views and smiled. I hadn't seen her take it from the refrigerator.
あ、俺にも一本。
Yeah. Serica handed Ito the plastic bottle she was holding and then took out 2 more from the fridge. She gave 1 to Kazuki.
おい、お前ら、人のものを勝手に。後で金払ってもらうからな。
Too bad. Just kidding.
なんだよ、ケチくせえな。
一人暮らしは何かと金がかかるんだよ。てか、尾上、僕にも一本。
That was 4 bottles in total. I'd have to go buy a new pack.
サンキュー。で、何がいいんだよ。さっき言ったろ。よかったねって。
ああ、うん。だってさ、もしもタクにそんな能力があったら、命を狙われるかもしれないってことでしょ？
あ、命を狙われる？
Mm-hmm. After everyone left, Serica's words repeated again and again in my mind.
もしもタクにそんな能力があったら、命を狙われるかもしれないってことでしょ？
There was a chance that all of the victims of these murders, they were calling them the return of the new generation madness, had psychic powers. That was the conclusion I'd reached as well. If I had the power that Kunasato and Arimura said I did, I could be a victim too. And Arimura had said before,
あなた、殺されますよ。宮代拓先輩。
殺される？僕が？
Yeah. What the hell was going on? Normally, I'd expect that my theory about oh, is it psychic powers had been proved correctly. Wait, is there a P in psychic? Did I read that right? I don't know. I'm gonna say I did. But instead, why did I have to start worrying about that they'd come after me? I think it makes sense. Just kidding. I don't know. For one thing, I couldn't use any psychic powers. See? I tried and nothing moved. I focused and nothing started floating. I knew for a fact that I didn't have any powers, so even if other people said I did... But what if? What if the killer mistakenly thought that I did, the same way Arimura and Kunosato did? In that case, even if they were wrong, my life would still be in danger. What was that sound? The door? Again? Was someone here? But the others... But the others had just left. And there was no one else who would come here. No way. Could it be someone who wanted to kill me? I'm not kidding. You've got to be kidding me. I can't use them. I don't have any powers. But despite my pleas, the door slowly opened. Uh-oh!
なんだ騒がしいなどうしたんだ
ケンさん
Oh, is he trying to get in his house?
おタク要はただいま帰ったぞ
なんだよ驚かさないでよ
I staggered back and sat down on the bed.
せっかく例のもの持ってきてやったってのにさては女子かと思って期待しておったね
そんなんじゃないよ
まあまあお前くらいの年なら誰でもあるこったってわけでほれ
Again tossed me an issue of Cool Cat Press, then stuck out his hand. To be honest, I didn't feel like it, but...
500円でいいの
毎度ありこれで今日もうまいビールが飲めるってな
少しは貯金とかしたら
For what?
やろう男は酔い越しの金は持たねえってな。イカタク、お前も男ならケチケチすんじゃねえぞ。じゃないと女子には。
わかったわかった。今日はもう帰って。
男ならとこら。
I pushed Gen out of the room and shut the door. The room became strangely silent once more. The occasional passing of a train seemed exponentially loud, but when it was gone, the silence returned. A train, toot-toot. Shibuya Station was very close, but once you got even a little bit away, it became like this. Normally, I loved the silence, but today, I felt a little lonely. Don't look at me. Leaky noise, revolving dead, and Gatsuen death. They all had stupid names, but they were all brutal murders, and
もしも特にそんな能力があったら命を狙われるかもしれないってことでしょ？
くそ、冗談じゃない。
I flipped open the new Cool Cat Press to take my mind off of it. The page read, "Polish your hidden talents to make girls love you." Let's see, are we gonna look at, oh. October 12th. October 12th, 2015, Monday.
終わり。ありがとう、ゆい。悪いわね。いいっていいって。のの姉にはいつもいろいろ任せっきりなんだもん。私だってもう子供じゃないんだし、こういう時くらい頼ってよ。
Yui smiled as she finished disinfecting the wound and applying the gauze. Nono was a little surprised to see her smile looked just like an adult's. Yui and Yuto had come to the Aoba dorm at almost the same time as Nono and Takeru. At first they were still young, and it took time for them to get used to life here, but now they were an indispensable part. Indispensable? A part of life at the dorm. Of course, it had been 6 years now, so perhaps that was only natural. That's right, Kurisu told herself. People can get used to anything. Nono thought about how long 6 years really was, and softly patted Yui on the head.
どうしたの？ののね。なんでもない。大きくなったなって。何？急に。だからなんでもないんだって。ちょっと思っただけ。
And at the same time, she thought to herself, I have to protect this, no matter what. The things she built up over the last 6 years, her family, and...
いいののね。また勝手に動き回って悪化させちゃダメなんだからね。
This way, Yui stood up when she talked, was just like... I'm gonna reread that sentence. This way, Yui stood up when she talked, just like Nono did. It felt a little embarrassing to watch.
ごめん。それにしても、タクル兄もタクル兄だよね。痛がってるのの姉を置いてどっか行っちゃうなんて。口では文句ばっかり言ってても、タクル兄は本当は優しい人だって思ってたのにさ。そう言わないであげて、ユイ。タクルはタクルなりにいろいろあるのよ、きっと。いろいろって？それは。
Kurisu knew that Takeru didn't want to hurt her. Takeru was just struggling as hard as as hard as he could, against the circumstances he found himself in, against the world. But
わからないけど、いろいろよ。いろいろ。変なの？
he still didn't realize that sometimes the only thing that brought was sadness. They'd kept Takeru's past a secret for his own sake. There was nothing to be gained from digging up the truths of the past. Takeru knew that. So, why?
とにかく、もうしばらく安静にしておくこと。これは父さんからの命令でもあるんだから。わかった？はいはい。返事は1回。はい、わかりました。よろしい。
Badunk. Yui said the line that normally Kurisu would say, then left the room. Kurisu chuckled as she watched her go. And then she took the phone off the side table. A moment after she turned it on, the phone's wallpaper appeared. It was a photo of her family. Her dad, Yuto, Yui, and Takeru, with a blank expression on his face. It was one of her most important treasures. She stared at it for a long time, and then after a moment's hesitation opened the photo gallery on the phone. There was Takeru mixed in along with many of her other memories. He had the same flat look on his face, and it almost made her laugh out loud. At the very bottom of the gallery was a picture dated a long, long time ago. It was taken 6 years ago, just before the earthquake. There were 3 children in the picture. Nono, Kawahara, and one more. And then she heard a knock at the door. She quickly hid the phone behind her back.
のの姉ちゃん、いい？何？お友達が来てるよ。お見舞いだって。友達？
Friend.
やっほー。
Sarika softly opened the door and came inside.
元気？元気だったらこうして寝てないから。ああ、そっか。じゃあまたにするね。冗談よ冗談。入って。うん。
Sarika came inside, moving a little more carefully and softly than she usually did. She sat down next to the bed.
お茶とか持ってきた方がいい？ああ、いいよ。お構いなく。ありがとう、ゆうと。うん。じゃあ。へへへ。
Sarika smiled as she watched the door close.
何？ゆうとくんもしっかりしてきたなーって。まだ甘えん坊だけどね。
Yuto was shy, particularly around people older than him, but he seemed okay with Sarika. It was probably because Sarika had been around Takeru for so long.
それで？え？ここに来た理由よ。お見舞い。怪我の具合なら電話でも話したでしょ。なのにわざわざ来るなんて。やっぱのんちゃんにはかなわないな。当たり前。で、どうしたの？ちょっとね。のんちゃんの様子がおかしいなって思って。私が？ 電話の声がね、元気がないなって。
何言ってるの。怪我してるんだから元気がないのは当たり前でしょ。
それはそうなんだけど、なんて言ったらいいかな。とにかく変だなって思ったの。だから来たの。
セリカ。
I guess I can't fool you either, Nono thought it to herself.
のんちゃん？どうしたの？具合悪い？
そうじゃない。そうじゃないの。ただ。
Nono hesitated for a moment, and then slowly took the phone out from behind her back. There was only one thought in her heart. I have to protect everyone. That was all. If she couldn't change things, they'd be put in danger. Takeru, her family, the rest of the newspaper club. So Nono made her decision. What she couldn't say until now. What she didn't say until now. She would tell everyone.
のんちゃん？
セリカ、言ってたわよね。例の病院の地下で、南沢千里っていう子の情報を見たって。
うん。
これ。
It was a picture Nono had been looking at a moment ago. There was Nono, Kurisu, Masahi Kawihara, and one another person.
のんちゃん、これって。
それではここでもう一度こちらの歴史シールがどういうものかを見てみましょう。まずこの歴史シールというものが最初に街中に貼られ始めたのは2007年頃だそうですが、果たして誰が何のために貼り始めたものなのか詳しいことは分かっていません。ただのいたずらだとも、あるいは宗教的呪術的な意味があるとも言われていますが、それも単なる噂の域を出ません。ただこの歴史シールが最近になって大量に貼られ始めたのには何らかのメッセージが込められているのではないかとインターネットなどでは話題になっているということですが、ここで若者のサブカルチャーなどに詳しいゲストの方を。
ここも
誰が何のためにやってるのかわからないなんて気味悪いですよね。
ここも
この歴史シールと言われるものがデザイン的にどうであるかという点を考えてみますと、
Every channel I looked at was talking about the sumo stickers. The world was talking about the sumo stickers a lot more than I expected them to. Everyone was getting excited over old news and old theories. But none of them had researched the same... none of them had reached the same conclusions I had yet. Well, of course they hadn't. It was way too far-fetched. But a while ago, I'd been confident. I'd been sure of my theory, and Kunasato and Arimura had confirmed it. I didn't believe in it anymore, or more specifically, I didn't want to believe it. Because if those powers existed, it meant that I might be a victim too. 「 I might eat my own hand, or rip open my stomach and shove a speaker inside, or have my head ripped off, or my stomach filled with pieces of paper with faces on them. Those already happened. It's got to be a new thing. It'll be something else. I might meet the same end all the others. A sliced arm. A bloody stomach. A severed head falling off its neck. Eyes that wept blood. A wide open mouth. The sumo stickers pouring out of it. If that happened to me... No way! I don't want that, no!
ではもう一度実物をご覧いただきましょう。これが力士シールと言われるものですが、
A close-up, but I still kind of think there's something else there, like... Maybe another sticker? Like, kind of next to it? A close-up of the sumo sticker appeared on the screen as the announcer spoke. The instant I saw it, I leapt from my chair, hallucinating that all the nightmares I'd seen so far were real booting and attacking me. I closed my eyes so that I couldn't see the sticker.
一説によりますと、これはデザイン学校の学生が自己表現のために貼り始めたという話もありますが、どんな理由であれ迷惑行為であることに変わりはありません。
I fearfully opened my eyes and tried to catch my breath. The sticker on the screen was still staring at me with its creepy face, but nothing had happened to me. I'd seen the 11th... I can't say this word. I'd seen the 11th image in the basement of that hospital. I'm sure if I heard it instead of just tried to read it, I would know how to say it. That was the real sumo sticker, and it had a terrifying effect on me. But many of the stickers that were showing up around town were fakes, put up by people hoping to be a part of the latest fad. They had no effect at all on me. I finally calmed down, so when I suddenly heard a loud voice next to me, I jumped up again. I recognized the voice, but still, I fearfully turned around. Oh! I hurt myself. Oh my goodness. It's okay. I suddenly felt so tired that I almost dropped straight to the ground, but managed to stop myself.
いきなり何なんだよお前は。
それは私が言いたいよ。タクってば外に聞こえるくらい大きな声出して、近所のみんなびっくりしてるよ。
今のはその発声練習だ。
Yeah, right.
本当に？
Sarika looked at me worried.
でもタク、顔が真っ青。ひどい汗だし。
And Sarika took a handkerchief out of her pocket and tried to wipe away my sweat.
いいよ、自分でやるから。
I grabbed the handkerchief from her and scrubbed the sweat off my forehead.
これ明日洗って返すから。
気にしなくて OK だよ。タクの汗だったら汚いとか思わないし。
What?
少しは気にしろよ。で、こんな時間に何の用だ？
I put the handkerchief in my pocket. Her face took a much more serious expression than usual as she slowly began to talk.
のんちゃんの話をね、聞いてあげてほしいの。
クルスの今から？
のんちゃんはね、明日でいいって、学校が終わったら青葉寮に来てほしいって言ってるけど、でも本当はタクにすぐにでも聞いてほしいんじゃないかなって思うんだ。
そんなに大事なことなのか？
うん、私が話しちゃってもいいんだけど、のんちゃん自分でお話ししたいって。
そうか。
Sarika never took anything this seriously. It must have been something important.
わかった。これから青葉寮へ行ってみる。
オッケー。さすがタク、優しいね。
She grinned and giggled a little, then grabbed the handkerchief out of my pocket. She just put her hands right in there.
いいからいいから、タクの汗の匂いをじっくり堪能するんだ。
What?
やめろよ。
それじゃあまた
明日。She squeezed her Garafroggy strap to say goodbye, then spun around and left the RV. I watched her go until she was out of the park.
クルスの大切な話。
As soon as she was gone, I tried to think. What could she want? Did it have something to do with what happened? The idea scared me a little, so I got ready as soon as I could and left the RV. I hurried down the usual route I took to the Aoba dorm. But... Uh-oh. Something was different. Something wasn't the same as it had been before. Something was wrong. I'd just come by this path on the way home from school, but... So... What was this strange, dissonant feeling? Uh-oh! There's so many. The walls, the fence, the streetlights. Stickers were staring at me from all directions. And all of them were real. Not one of them was fake. It was that eerie 11th row such image. The scenery in front of me suddenly wrapped and twisted. I felt the mountain view I just drank coming back up my throat, and I tried my best to keep it down.
やめろ見るなよ僕を見るな僕は能力者なんかじゃないお前たちに狙われることなんてないんだ
Not even if Arimura or Kunosato were right. And I did have some kind of power. It was only a teeny little power which I couldn't master and wasn't even good for anything.
だから僕なんか狙っても意味ないんだよやめてくれよ
I heard a strange voice from somewhere. Like a cat in heat. No, this was... It was the sound of a baby crying? But I doubted there were any babies in this park. So, what was that voice? It's the sound the sumo stickers make. And then, all the stickers that were staring at me smiled. And then slowly, their eyes oh, whoa. Opened. I ran as fast as I could, not caring where I went. I just needed to escape from the 11th I just needed to escape from the 11th somehow. But they're everywhere. No matter where I went. No matter where I went. Here. And here. There were so many of them. There were really this many sumo stickers in Shibuya. How did I never notice? No matter where I went, it was like they were following me. I had no idea how long I'd been running from the phantoms of the sumo stickers. But no matter where I ran, the whole city of Shibuya was covered in sumo stickers. And each time I saw one, I felt sick, dizzy, as if I was going to throw up. Add that to the exhaustion from running, and I was barely able to stand. Just when I'd reached the conclusion that there was nowhere left in Shibuya for me to rest anymore, I saw a silhouette crouched in an alley. It was a person clutching their arms to their tiny body. They looked like a stray cat. It was so different from the girl I was used to that at first I thought I must be mistaken. Who is it? But when she looked up, I saw that it was her.
Arimura.
宮代先輩。
何してるんだよ。こんなところで。
ちょっと気分が悪くて、あれのせいで。
Arimura pointed behind her, but didn't turn around. But that was enough to tell me what she was pointing at.
力士シールか。
そっか。先輩も？先輩もひどい顔してる。ダメなんでしょ、あれ。
違う。僕は。
I didn't want to admit it. If I admitted it, that would mean that I had a special power like Arimura, and that my life would be in danger. That would mean that instead of me going after the case would be going after me.
なんだか急に数が増えたと思いません？あれ。
Arimura's voice was so soft that it was hard to hear her.
今テレビなんかでも話題になってるから、情弱どもまで寄ってたかって張りまくってるんだ、きっと。
しかも偽物だけじゃなくて本物のシールまで。迷惑です。
まったくだ。そういう連中はすぐに飽きるとは思うけど。
だといいんですけど。
とりあえず青葉院へ行こう。僕やクルスが育った養護施設だ。そこなら診察室があるから具合が悪くても休める。
はい、すみません。
立てるか？
それくらいはできます。
She forced herself to smile, then ignored my outstretched hand and stood up on her own. Getting to Aoba dorm was a miserable experience. I could feel the influence of the sumo stickers increasing with every step I took.
大丈夫か？
はい。
Or so she said, but she didn't look good. And I wasn't in a position to be worrying about anyone else either. That was the one... Oh, that was the one that drove me forward. But suddenly, I'm gonna stretch. She appeared before us. A woman. It was a woman with a strange presence. If we had been on one of Shibuya's typical crowded streets, I doubt I ever would have noticed her. But on this empty street, she was impossible to miss. Her long hair covered most of her face. And with the streetlights to her back, I couldn't read her expression at all. But I could see the strange, hungry light that shone from her eyes through the thick hair that otherwise concealed her features. It was a dark night, one that somehow brought a deeper darkness, not illumination.
先輩
Arimura's voice was shaking. She realized how strange the woman was, too. And then, my eyes met hers. The next instant, she laughed, or so it seemed to me. Her laugh was empty, but at the same time, somehow satisfied. It was a laugh like evil itself, and it was like nothing I'd ever heard before in my life. And then, in a raspy, unpleasant voice, she spoke. We've been found! Yay! Alarm bells went off in my mind. My knees started to buckle. My instincts told me that she was dangerous. Arimura was staring at the woman, not moving a muscle. No, she probably couldn't have moved. No, she probably couldn't have moved, even if she had wanted to. It was like we were paralyzed. Arimura barely got out the words. A psychic? I didn't want to admit it, but just looking at the woman in front of me was enough to dash all my hopes. This woman, her very existence was enough to make me believe.
Arimura.
なんですか?
あの女の能力ってのはどんな?
I don't know about any of the Giglomaniac's powers beside Arimura's, but from what I'd seen so far, some of them were a lot more dangerous than the ability to tell when someone was telling the truth. There had to be more types, for instance, ones that could be used as weapons. And there was no doubt in my mind that this woman had that sort of power. It didn't matter whether I believed or not. How could I? How could I not have the information I needed at a time like this?
Arimura.
そんなの私にもわかりません。テレパシーなのか、プレコグニションなのか、クレアボヤンスなのか。ただ。
Arimura's eyes were fixed on a single point. She probably couldn't look away.
あの人の能力はもっと危険な、人に害を与える力だと。
The woman walked sluggishly toward us. Slowly, slowly. I finally realized the reason she seemed to be off balance as she walked. As she walked was that she was dragging one leg. Maybe she injured it, or maybe it had never worked right. She approached us one step at a time, as if enjoying our fear. She took another step. A horrible smile was frozen on her face. Her eyes were looking straight at us, as if she didn't want to let her prey escape. But my body wouldn't move. My body had turned to stone, as if I'd been stared at by Medusa. And then suddenly the wind blew. The woman's long hair flew up, and I could see just a little of her face. Arimura gasped. The woman had been terribly burnt. Her face was covered in horrible burn scars. The smile disappeared from her face. Instead, was replaced by rage. There was nothing there but burning rage at the color of anger. She slowly brought her hands up, and then pushed them out toward us. Fire! Arimura screamed and pulled at my hand as hard as she could. Pew! A pillar of flame burning up right where I was standing. Heck yeah, I like this music. I'm trying to dance. There we go. There's a blast of heat, and the awful stink of burning asphalt. When the asphalt bubbled up, when it was like hot outside, did you ever go out and pop all the bubbles? I remember doing that. Oh wait, no, that was tar. Yeah. A burning pain ran down through my cheek as the heat struck. Eee! I also screamed. She waved her arm, and the next moment, the space in front of me was a sea of crimson flames. Arimura and I tried our best to get away from the fire. Pyrokinesis. I knew that meant the ability to create fire. If I remembered right, it was a word created by a famous novelist. All over the world, there were historical records of unexplained fires breaking out for no clear reason. Spontaneous human combustion, where a human body would suddenly burst into flame, was one of those incidents. Took. Of course, spontaneous human combustion was considered pseudoscience? As most scientists believe, those incidences were actually caused by static electricity or EM waves. And now, real pyrokinesis was happening right in front of me. Why not? The next thing I knew, the woman was stretching her hands out toward me. Ow. Got me right in the eyes. I rode along the ground with Arimura at almost the exact same moment. The fire exploded outward. The smell of burning hair stung my nostrils. We kept moving away, only barely dodging the burning flames. Pillar after pillar of fire appeared behind us. It looked like the flames had spread to a bike and some garbage that were laying on the roadside, but I didn't have time to check. The woman was getting closer, dragging her legs as she walked. I tried to grab her hand and run, but what? A fire appeared right in front of us. As we tried to dodge it, we both lost our balance and fell to the ground. The planter next to us was on fire. I looked up as the footsteps got closer and saw that the woman was right on top of us. That was what was going through my mind as I lay there frozen in terror. This wasn't an anime or a movie. This was a video game. Oh, this was reality. The pain from where I'd hit my leg when I fell, the pain from the burns. All those flames, the smell of melted out asphalt. It was all real. Kunosato had said that the Gigalomaniac's power came from delusions. And not just any delusions. These delusions affected the brains of others, and through being shared, they became reality.
物理現象すらねじ曲げるんだよ。ギガロマニアックスの妄想と、それによって共通認識化された現実は。
I don't know if you heard it, but my cat sneezed. Why does my cat get to sneeze and I don't get to sneeze?
だからこそ、それはこの上なく危険なんだ。
Yes, and because of that, impossible pyrokinesis was happening right in front of me. And that power was going to kill me and Arimura. Delusional flames would become reality. And in that reality, we were going to be burnt to death. The woman slowly pointed her hands toward us. Maybe I was imagining it, but the air around me seemed to grow hotter. I don't want to die. I don't want to be roasted to death by these flames. No, I don't want to die. I still... A bigger spiral of a bigger spiral of flame than any we'd seen before appeared before us. But at the same time, A sword! Is that mine? Something strange appeared in the corner of my eye. Frighteningly sharp, but frighteningly fragile, infinite and finite, phantasmal and real. Like all the ugliness and beauty in the world had been compressed into one object. Is that our sword? It was a D-sword! It was clearly a different shape than Arimura's, but still, I could see it. But since I didn't know how to draw it, I desperately struck the woman with every delusion I muster. I imagined the sword slicing through her flames, and flung that image at her with my imagination. The burning flames that threatened to engulf the two of us exploded. And then the fire danced like a snake. It flew in a straight line toward the woman who had created it. The fire turned into a spiral that leapt at her. She fell over in shock. Was that my power? While I hadn't been looking at the D-sword and the D-sword had vanished from my vision. Arimura suddenly fell silent. I turned to see what she was looking at. As the air rippled from the smoke and heat of the flames, the woman slowly stood up. I gasped at the color of her eyes. The fire had been there a moment ago was gone. The light had burned with the light that burned with hatred was gone. There was only ice. Her eyes were ice, frozen, emotionless, and piercing. Arimura and I couldn't move. Slowly, slowly, with an unsteady rhythm, the woman approached us. And then stopped a few steps away. Smoke was rising off a garbage bin behind us. The planter by our side was making crackling noises from the heat. There was nowhere to there was nowhere to run before us, behind us, or anywhere else. I couldn't even hear the bustle of the town. But the beating of my heart sounded even louder. The sound of my saliva running down my throat, the sound of my breathing, the sound of my blood flowing. All of those sounds offered proof that I was still alive. But soon they would be gone. They would all disappear. Inside the burning flames. My legs shook. My eyes blurred with tears. I could barely speak. But the woman's expression didn't change, not even a little. And as she raised her hand toward me, closed my eyes. I was going to... Huh? I slowly opened my eyes, and then... the woman was gone. Was I... saved? All the strength drained from my body and I collapsed to the ground. I thought I was a goner. I thought she would kill me for sure. No, until a moment ago she was definitely going to kill me. I could tell from her eyes. They were cold, without a trace of doubt, uncertainty, or hesitation. So, why had she suddenly disappeared?
Arimura.
I looked up and saw that Arimura was standing there, staring at the spot where the woman had disappeared.
先輩。
どうしたんだ、有村。もしかして、まだ何か。
そうじゃないんです。ただ。
ただ。
怖くて。動けない。ここですか。
とりあえずここなら平気だと思う。
After the attack by the pyrokinetic woman, I'd finally fled with Arimura to Aoba dorm. I could probably get treatment for my burns here.
閉まってるか。
The front door was locked. I'd been so busy running that I'd forgotten how late it was.
鍵まだ隠してあるといいけど。
I'd been given a key to the dorm, but I didn't usually carry it on me. But when I lived here, there was a spare key hidden on the grounds. I decided to look for it.
あった。
Fortunately, the key was right where I remembered it. Part of me thought it wasn't a good idea to leave it in the same place all the time, but today I was grateful. As I went to the exam room, Arimura still stood hesitantly by the entrance. I motioned for her to sit in the exam chair.
その怪我の治療だけど。
ご心配なく、これくらいなら自分でできますから。
そう。
Good. I'd gotten a little used to it, but I still don't like the idea of touching her skin.
ああ、消毒液とかこれ使って。
I got some medicine, some cotton wool, and some adhesive bandages off the shelf and handed them to her. Since this was a clinic, a lot of the medicines were used by professionals, but they were labeled in clearly written Japanese, so there was no way I could screw them up. Every time a new drug came in, it was Kurisu's job to make the label and stick it on. She always said that if she didn't, Yui, Yuto, and I might take some by accident. She'd always been the type to worry about things like that. I'd always been told to make sure to straighten my shoes up when I took them off, or not to put my socks on in the put my socks in the laundry inside out. She'd made me help with a lot of cooking too, didn't she? I shook my head, shocked that I was thinking about those things when something much more important was going on.
宮代先輩は こでクルス先輩たちと一緒に暮らしてるんですか？
The disinfectant must have stung because she was wincing.
暮らしてたんだよ。少し前まで。
じゃあ今は？
今は別の場所で一人で暮らしてる。
一人暮らしですか。いいですね。
まあね。有村は？
I hadn't really meant anything by it. That was just where the conversation was leading.
知りたいですか？
あ、いや、言いたくないならいいんだけど。
いいですよ、別にそれくらい。私は親戚の家で暮らしてます。実家ちょっと遠いので。
そうか。
If she was jealous of me living alone, did that mean she wasn't getting along with her relatives?
あ、言っておきますけど、別に親戚の家でいじめられてるとか、そういう昭和のドラマみたいなことはないですから。
え？
いえ、変に誤解されても嫌だなと思って。
別に誤解なんてしてない。
やっぱり思ってたんですね。
That's right. She had that power. Having her know if I was telling the truth or not made things difficult. It was probably difficult for Arimura herself to know what someone was really thinking, whether she wanted to or not. That sort of explained how she acted at school. Unless she kept things on a specific level? Oh, superficial! Unless she kept things on a superficial... Oh my goodness. Why do I keep doing this? Ah! The sun! Hold on. Unless she kept things on a superficial level, acting like a goofball or telling jokes, she knows what everyone really felt, and it would crush her.
はい、終わりました。先輩もどうぞ。
My turn! Since Arimura seemed to have finished, I sat down in a chair to take care of my own injuries. And at the same time, the door in the back softly opened.
誰？タクル？
Oh no! I'd hoped that Kurisu would be asleep. No, I actually came here to talk about... I actually came here to talk to her about something important. But after the pyrokinetics attack, I decided against it. If she saw me injured like this, she would have worried, so I'd planned to talk to her tomorrow instead.
何か音が聞こえるから気になって、こんな時間にどうし...
And then she realized that there was another girl in the room.
有村さん？お邪魔してまーす。
違うんだ、これは。
I wasn't out on some kind of weird late night date with her, and when we got into a big fight where both of us got hurt, but before I could say something, which would probably only make her more suspicious, Kurisu saw us both and went pale.
二人とも怪我してるじゃない。
これは。
I knew this was coming. Her own injury hadn't healed yet, so when I saw how worried she looked, it pricked at my heart.
貸して。手当て必要なんでしょ？いいから貸しなさい。
Kurisu grabbed the medicines I was carrying and started to
いや
patch
い
me
や
up.
もう大丈夫っすよ。私はもう自分で。そんな適当な処置じゃダメ。後になったらどうするの。でもは聞きません。わかったわね。はい。
Kurisu's no-nonsense attitude was enough to overwhelm even Arimura. She sat still and let Kurisu do whatever she wanted. Once she was finished, she started on me.
で、何があったの？
ああ、それは。
What was I supposed to tell her?
できるだけ驚かさないように伝えるべきなんだろうけれど。
私たち襲われたんです。
ってストレートすぎるだろ有村。
Arimura came straight out and told her while I was hesitating.
襲われた？はい。炎を操る力を持った女に。
Kurisu's expression started to cloud over.
だから有村、余計なこと言うなよ。
I glared at her, but Arimura just shook her head.
こういう時は変に隠すとかえって嘘っぽくなるんですよ、先輩。相手にも余計な心配をかけます。
え？
つうか、宮代先輩の嘘って私の能力なんかなくても分かりやすいですし。有村さんの言う通りだわ。ちゃんと話して。
I guess I didn't have a choice. I told Kurisu what had just happened, carefully choosing my words so as to not scare her. While I spoke, I had flashbacks to the terror I felt during the attack, and my voice started to shake, but I couldn't help that.
ということで、理由は僕たちにもわからないんだ。でも、あの女は間違いなく僕たちを狙ってきた。
Everything I said sounded unrealistic, even to me, but Kurisu intensely listened to every word. She just sat there and listened.
宮代先輩。
Arimura suddenly looked at me and spoke.
見えますか、それ。
See what? Oh, the sword! Only then did I realize. I'd been so busy talking that I hadn't noticed, but something had appeared in the corner of my vision. When I remembered the terror I felt during the attack, had it brought this back as well? There was no mistaking it. I whispered the words myself and tried to visualize it more clearly. And then the hazy, indistinct image began to take shape. I reached out my hand toward the bizarre object, but
なんだこれ、どういうことだ?
For some reason, I couldn't touch it.
タクル？何をしているの？
I'm picking up a sword.
ここに。
剣？やっぱり出せるようになったんですね。自分のディソード。
Arimura said.
自分の？
はい。それが先輩のディソードですよ。ディソード。
An illusionary sword that could only be seen with the power to make delusions real.
僕はやっぱり能力者 なのか。
だからずっと言ってるじゃないですか。そうだって。
じゃあさっきの女、あれはやっぱり僕を。
だと思います。私を狙った可能性ももちろんありますけど。
What I'd been afraid of had become real. That woman, her eyes, her appearance, and her flames. The burn marks on our bodies told me that this wasn't a dream. It was real. At this rate, I would be killed like the victims in Don't Look at Me and Revolving Dead. Why was this happening to me?
有村さん。
Kurisu suddenly interrupted our conversation.
なんでしょう。あなたの知っていること、全部私に教えて。どうしてですか？誰が何のためにこんな事件を起こしているのか調べるの。
おい。
Stunned, I leaned towards Kurisu.
お前、事件には関わるなってずっと言って。
でももう遅いんでしょ？この先もタクルや有村さんが狙われるかもしれないのよね。
クルス。
I'd noticed earlier that something seemed a little strange about Kurisu. She told me so many times not to get involved in anything dangerous that I was sure when I told her what had happened tonight, she'd freak out. That's why, even when I'd fled here, I still hadn't wanted to see her. But after I'd told her, instead of looking angry or raised her voice, her expression was firm and resolved.
タクル。セリカから聞いてるかもしれないけど、話しておきたいことがあるの。
ああ。
実は私、あなたに言ってないことがあって。
言ってないこと？
I felt a sudden pain in my heart. Her words reminded me of the last time when I was told my parents were murdered. When I'd found out that my family rule at the Aoba dorm, that nobody kept secrets, didn't apply to me, just everyone else. When I found out that I was the only person who was different from the rest of my family. And when Kurisu remembered it too. She had almost brought herself to the verge of saying something, but her memories came back and stopped her. She kept opening and closing her mouth, only to finally fall silent. I almost never saw her like this.
クルス、僕なら大丈夫だ。
I balled my hands tightly into fists as if I was trying to tell her this. Trying to tell this to myself too.
今の僕はあの時とは違うよ。多分。だから聞かせてくれ。
タクル。
Was I just imagining things, or did Kurisu's eyes get a little wet? I couldn't bear to look at her, so I continued.
とにかく、言ってないことってのを聞かないと、何が何だかわかんないだろ。
そうね。そうよね。ごめんなさい。
And then she slowly started to speak. This is what she said.
今度の事件、私は無関係じゃないの。
I never even expected that. Kurisu was involved in the case? What did she mean?
この前、あなたたちが忍び込んだっていう病院ね。
She's the killer.
AH 東京総合病院。
ええ、その病院の地下のこと、私前から知っていた。
は？
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was so sudden and surprising that I couldn't even follow it. The basement under AH Tokyo General Hospital. She knew about that terrifying place? Why? How?
昔千里がね。南沢千里のことよ。
南沢千里？
I had to stop myself from reaching out and grabbing her by the shoulders.
どうして彼女？
それはそのね。
Kurisu paused and looked away. And then she followed me from... And then she showed me... And then she showed me the phone in her hands.
これよ。
There was a picture on the phone. A happy smiling boy and two girls. The picture was old, but I recognized the girls as Kurisu and the boy... One of the girls as Kurisu and the boy as Kawahara. And there was a girl with them who had very gloomy eyes. It was without a doubt the girl whose data I'd seen in the facility, the one called Senri Minamasawa.
そうか。思い出した。南沢って名前、どこかで聞いたことがあると思ったんだ。
It was during the culture festival. Kawahara had said.
特に俺とあともう一人地震で死んじまったけど、南沢ってやつはいつもクルスと一緒にいた。3人でよくつるんでたんだよ。
川原くんが言ってた。南沢って子が一緒だったって。
そう。この写真を撮った頃の私たちはいつも一緒に遊んでいたのよ。
Senri Minamisawa, who had been subject to those awful human experiments, used to be Kurisu's friend?
千里はね、毎週日曜日にあの病院に通っていたわ。
じゃあ、クルスは
The back of my throat had gone dry and hurt terribly.
クルスはあそこで何が行われていたのかも知ってたのか？
Kurisu bit her lip and slowly nodded.
当時子供だった私にはどうしようもなかったの。それが悔しくて悲しくて。
Kurisu looked down. Her face was twisted with pain as if she was being tortured. She was a girl with a strong sense of right and wrong. Knowing that her friend was being experimented on must have been terrible for her. Did Kurisu maybe go through the same trauma that I did?
でも今はもう子供じゃない。逃げるわけにはいかないわ。私も事件のことを知っておかなきゃいけない。そうじゃないと誰も守れない。
クルス。
有村さん、お願い。全部教えて。
Was that really the right thing to do? I'd put Kurisu in danger before. And now I was sending her down a dangerous path again.
仕方ないですね。
待ってくれ、有村。
I tried to stop Arimura but Kurisu cut me off.
ねえタクル、今日あなたたちに怪我をさせたのが誰なのかそれはわからないわ。けどまた襲ってくる可能性があるんでしょ。
Maybe.
何も知らないままじゃ私は何もしてあげられない。ただうろたえるだけで何もできない。そんなの嫌なのよ。だから全部聞かせて、私にも。羨ましいですね。あ、いえ、なんでもないです。で、クルス先輩に話しちゃってもいいんですか？
I slowly nodded.
でも有村、クルスを巻き込む前に一つだけ聞いてもいいか？
私にですか？
僕はお前のことまだよくわからない。正直信じていいのかどうかも。
なるほど、そうでしょうね。
でもなんていうか、今は悪いやつじゃないような気がしてるんだ。だから聞いておきたいんだけど。
だから何をです？
お前は少なくとも僕らの敵じゃないんだよな。お前のせいで僕の大事な誰かが死んだりしないよな。
Arimura thought for a moment as she looked at me and Kurisu in turn. And then...
まあ、さっきは宮代先輩に助けてもらいましたし、恩をあだで返すってのもどうかと思うんで、誓っときます。私のことは先輩たちの味方だと思ってて問題ないですよ。
そっか。
おっと、ただしベタベタ慣れ合ったりするのとか大嫌いなんで、その辺はよろしく。
Then she smiled just a little. That may have been the first time I'd seen a real smile from her. October 12th, 2015, Monday. Shinja looked up at the huge white building and sighed loudly. H. Tokyo General Hospital. After Kurisu's report, he decided to visit it himself. It was almost midnight. Visiting hours were long over, and he didn't have an official warrant. He was here entirely of his own volition. But as I saw it, he was never getting a warrant the usual way, so this was his only shot. Normally, he'd want to slowly, painstakingly build up a case, but it seemed to him that searching this hospital was so important that there just wasn't time to spare.
里美代の話が本当であることをまず確かめる。そうすれば、令状なんていくらでも出るようになるはずだ。
Maybe you still are getting some evidence, like, without the warrant. And then you can't use that for anything. After his own investigation, he found that something strange had started happening here in 2007, 2 years ago before the earthquake. At the same time, there was a treatment facility in Shibuya called the Arc Heart Medical Association that was involved with some kind of cult. On the surface, it was a mental health clinic staffed with talented doctors from university hospitals. There was no way to know what they'd actually been doing, but evidently, some people had suspected that they were brainwashing troubled patients. But suddenly, the facility was reborn as a hospital with a non-profit assisted living facility. And all the doctors that the Arkhart Medical had fired were rehired at AH Tokyo General Hospital. And then 6 years ago, there was the New Generation Madness. The 5th victim in that case, Fumio Takashina, the victim of the so-called brain-dead case, who'd been kept alive for weeks after his brain was removed. He worked at AH Tokyo General Hospital. There was so much that seemed suspicious. And then he shook his head. Do it your own way! That's what they would have said. Either way, if he could get proof of what was on this facility's basement, the case would take a whole different turn. Even if there was something big lurking in the shadows behind this case, if he presented inconvertible proof, the police would have no choice but to act. It wasn't just about the facility after all. There were a lot of people involved too. The lives and dignity of the victims who'd been turned into test subjects also mattered. Every year, almost 100,000 people went missing. If some of them had been forced in these experiments, that was a big problem. His voice was somehow relaxed, yet driven, as he headed into the hospital. He learned and memorized the location of the facilities from Kunesato. He snuck in from the ER loading zone and headed to the basement. This hospital is so easy to break into. How many people have broken in here? The temperature there was clearly different from the areas above. And then he went to the autopsy room. They'll say, autopsy at my autopsy. He opened the breaker box and saw the card reader inside. And then you punch it, and then the door opens. He held out the card that Kunesato had given him. Beep, 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 bloop. And then he heard the sound of an opening door. There was a hidden staircase in the back of the autopsy room. A part of him hadn't believed it until he'd seen it for himself, but now he was essentially sure. A normal hospital wouldn't need something like this. Shinju stopped for a moment to take a breath, then headed down the stairs. There was an old hallway at the bottom. It smelled of mold and dust. When he turned on his pen light, he saw that it was an old facility, and the walls were falling apart. If no one visited a building it rots away. Unless someone uses it every day, it wouldn't last long. But this hospital was different. It was old, but he was nearly certain someone was using it.
確かこの先だと言ってたな。
Shinjo followed the direction that Kunosato had given him as he headed toward his goal. His first stop was the monitoring room, which would have critical information on the facility. He wanted the data on the computer there, and then he wanted to find the room where the victims of the experiments were being kept. He turned down many corridors. He turned down many corridors as he headed for his destination. The cell-like rooms he saw on the way concerned him, but they could wait for later. Right now, his biggest job was to get the evidence he needed.
ここか。
Shinjo finally found the spot he was looking for. He used his card key to unlock the door. Then he swallowed and put his hand on the doorknob. When he got inside, he saw... What's in there? What'd you see? He quickly ran to the other room, the prison where Uki Yamazoe had kept the test subjects.
冗談じゃない。まさか。
He quickly found the room and flung open the door. And then he stood still in astonishment. There was... what? Nothing there! No victims, no beds. None of the things that Kunosato had told him about. The monitoring room had been empty, too. There was no security cameras, no computers. Nothing at all. All that remained was the simple fact that there was nothing left at all. The next day...
なあ、宮代。部活行くんだろ？もちろん。今日はいろいろと事件について整理したいんだ。んじゃ、行こうぜ。あ、悪いけど先行っててくれ。なんだ、用でもあんのか？用ってか、今日掃除当番。
I pointed to the other students who were moving the desks and sweeping the floors.
ああ。しかしなんで生徒に掃除とかさせるんだろうな。確かにな。そもそも生徒が学校を掃除するなんて習慣があるのは日本を含めわずかな国だけで。ああ、ストップ。一席ぶたなくていいから。んじゃ、後でな。あ。
Time to get this finished and head to the club room. I saw a scrap of paper lying on the floor next to the garbage bin. Someone had probably tried to throw it in the wastebasket and missed, then left it there. I really wish they'd think about the people who had to do the cleaning before they did that. I took a quick look around. There was another student named Tanaka right nearby who was mopping up the floor. Fortunately, there was no one else around. Okay, let's try this. What are you gonna try? Oh, you're gonna move it into the garbage with your brain? I visualized the scrap of paper lifting off the ground. This was more difficult than you'd think. If you lost your concentration for even a moment, it wouldn't work. I took the scene I'd imagined and tried to strike Tanaka with it. Oh. Why? Why would you... And then, did it work? The scrap of paper floated upward, just like I had imagined. And then it floated into the garbage can. Whoa. Nice. I did a little victory pose.
あれ
Uh-oh. Tanaka was looking around in surprise. He looked at me a little afraid.
ねえ、宮代くん。
あ、はい。なんですか？
今さ、なんか紙くずがね、勝手にゴミ箱に。
No.
はあ。
手も触れてないのにゴミ箱に入ったっていうか、ね
え。まさか何かの見間違いじゃないですか。
You're sleep deprived. You need to go to bed right now. Here, I got the pillow on blankie for you. Take a little nap.
うん、そうだよね。
Still, he stared at the garbage can, unsatisfied.
ゴミ捨ててきたいんですけど、いいですか？
うん、ごめんね。
I took the garbage can out into the hallway. Chapter 7? Whoa! This is a good time to save for next time. The perfect time, right? Let's make sure it... There we go, save. That's what I want. Let's see. Okay. Well, thank you for coming and watching. We'll pick this up next time. But yeah, thank you.